Let's talk about Daniel and Bianca in this last episode. Bianca wakes up and she decides to go into her living room and wake Daniel up because he wanted to crash on the couch because he was pretty pissed off because Bianca completely disrespected him in front of his family. And the first thing she says is, "Oh, I didn't mean to disrespect or trigger you," as they play a replay of her completely disrespecting and triggering him. The man literally said he was triggered and she encouraged him to take a shot. Then to top it off, she does all this in front of his family after she was swearing up and down to his parents that she was going to be supportive of his sobriety journey and that she was going to control her drinking. One thing about Bianca is she loves to be the victim. You know, she got in her friend's car when her friend was trashed and claimed she had no idea. And then once they get in a wreck and she's injured, she sued her, got her money. And here she is playing a victim once again with Daniel. She turns it all around on him and said, well, you know, you still haven't proposed to me. It's been 2 days and you still have not proposed to me, when she has not done anything since he's been out to show him that she's worthy of being a housewife and ready to settle down. And even Daniel pointed that out. He said, I don't think she's mature enough to be a housewife or be a mother at this point. And you know, she loves drinking so much. I think she needs to wait a little bit and get her little partying and, you know, young fun times out of her system. Because once you got a kid, you know, all that goes out the window. Or you can still try to, you know, keep partying like a rock star with kids and then you're just one CPS case away from losing them. And then they're talking and Bianca said, well, you know, you promised this to me, and if you don't want to marry me, then I don't want to be with you. Which is just pure emotional manipulation. She's just trying to create a sense of fear and insecurity for Daniel, so he feels like he has to walk on eggshells and has to feel like, oh, I have to do this or I'm not gonna be able to be with her. I agree with what the cousin told Daniel later on in the episode. Daniel sat down with his cousin and his cousin said, look, I fear that Bianca is just going to get mad at you and not get her way and kick you out. And I 100% agree. I feel like she's going to use that as a way to try to get her way. Like if he don't give her a cup of coffee the next time she asks for it, or he don't jump when she says jump, I feel like she's going to be kicking him out, making him sleep on the sidewalk or sleep on the porch. And it's going to be a real rough night for Daniel. Like, if you're threatening to leave someone within days of them being out of prison just because they haven't proposed, then maybe you're not ready to get married. And even Daniel pointed that out. He's like, 1 minute you claim you want to be married to me, and then the next minute you say that you want to break up with me. Which one is it? Because she should at least be able to make him feel secure, especially with the fact he's paroled to her house. And I feel like there is an underlying issue with Bianca that's coming out, and I feel like her rushing to get married, it's not going to solve this underlying issue like she's hoping. It's not going to just magically disappear, and it may even get worse over time. And it really became evident to me when Daniel started really standing up for himself and he raised his voice a little bit. And he wasn't yelling, but Bianca immediately took it as yelling and said she was triggered and demanded that he never yells at her again. And he's like, look, people yell sometimes and I'm not even really yelling. And I feel like that was Bianca kind of having a flashback of some of the past trauma that she went through with her father. She has spoken out on social media claiming that her father put hands on her and her mother back when she was younger. And there's even a court case against her father, and Bianca was set to testify against him. But the case was eventually dismissed. I'm not sure why, if it was due to lack of evidence, or maybe Bianca didn't end up testifying against him. But I feel like that's why she was getting so triggered, because maybe her dad used to yell at her and she was starting to feel like she was dealing with her dad in that moment. Then the conversation goes from marriage back to the fact that Daniel did not get Bianca coffee the first day that he was, or the next morning after he was out and made her breakfast. And he's like, are we really doing this again? And she's like, yeah, because I still want to know why you didn't give me no coffee. When in reality, they should be talking about the fact that she got wasted with his cousin and she disrespected him in front of his family, because that's like not even comparable, I think, in my opinion. But I think what Bianca does is she deflects, so she doesn't really have to, take accountability for what she did. I mean, she did end up apologizing and kind of say, like, look, my bad for what I did. But it doesn't really seem like she really understands what exactly she was doing and how that's not good or healthy for Daniel or the relationship. I do feel like Bianca, though, does need someone like Daniel to help slow her down, because she's really fast paced. She doesn't really think through things, and she kind of can communicate, but not really. And it seems like Daniel has some of the skills that she doesn't have. They kind of balance each other out, but I still think that this whole relationship is a recipe for disaster. They end up apologizing to each other. And then Daniel decides to go meet up with his cousin and figure out what exactly went down with him and Bianca the night before. And I'm fully convinced say the cousin was at Bianca's apartment and there was no cameras around, I feel like they probably would have done something together, because they were smiling and having way too much of a good time together. Like, I understand having fun as friends, but some of the interactions that they had together while they're drinking together was definitely giving a little flirtatious, just in my honest opinion. And it seemed like his cousin kind of had the hots for Bianca a little bit too. And they sit down, and Daniel wanted to know what Bianca was telling his cousin. And his cousin didn't hold back. He said, look, she told me all about your sex life. You don't do no foreplay. She wants me to talk to you about it. And Daniel could not believe what he was hearing. He's like, that is so inappropriate. She should not be having these conversations with you. Pretty much everything that what us, the audience, was thinking as we were hearing Bianca say these things to his cousin. Like, I get it. She doesn't want to have the awkward conversation with him, but I feel like there's a better person to get to talk to him besides his cousin, his male cousin at that. Then, like I mentioned earlier, the cousin pretty much said, she can kick you out. She probably has resentment building towards you, and she could be lashing out at any minute, and you're going to end up homeless. And Daniel realizes that's very well a possibility. And meanwhile, Bianca was back at her apartment, and she was calling her bestie. I can't remember his name, but it's her friend that we were introduced to her first season. And she's pretty much venting to her friend about everything she's been dealing with Daniel, how he won't marry her. And she wants to fly out her bestie to come hang out with her because she feels like she really doesn't have anyone. And she is convinced that maybe her bestie can talk some sense into Daniel, since she feels like she can't get through to him. But I just feel like you cannot push a man to be ready for marriage who is not ready for marriage. He is not even sure if this is a relationship that's going to work out, let alone an engagement or a marriage. kudos to Daniel for taking his time and not jumping into things, because that's a big investment to buy an engagement ring and then a big commitment to propose to someone. Like, you really got to be ready for that. It seems like most people on this show, they're like, oh yeah, you're unemployed. Oh yeah, you got all this past trauma that you haven't dealt with. Oh yeah, you know, you got a pending case. Yes, let's get married. It seems like the ones with like the most problems are the ones that are ready to get married the fastest. And then next thing you know, we find out they're divorced by the end of the season. So Daniel is just taking his time because he doesn't want to be another divorce statistic, and I don't blame him. I am starting to wonder though if this is all just for a storyline, because we just learned, you know, Bianca's been pressing him for a baby so hard, and then she just came out on Instagram and said that they're gonna wait another year or two. Like, how did you go from trying to get pregnant within days of him being out and refusing to take a plan B to suddenly you don't want to have a baby for another year or two? Like, maybe he did talk some sense into her, or maybe this was just, you know, to make it seem like she was more irrational than she really is. Because obviously Daniel sees something in her, because he's still with her to this day. And they just got like a kitten together. They just moved into another apartment a few months ago. But that's it for this video, guys. Let me know what you guys think about these two in the comments below. Give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and thank you so much for watching.